As the weather turns here nippy and chilly in Delhi, I would extend a very warm welcome to all our dear viewers. Today we have two esteemed gentlemen. We have our InfraPandit Award winners, Dr. Shubham Jain and Dr. Paresh Jawarilal Chhajed. But before I go into our viewers, I go into our what our winners have done, I would like to explain what the InfraPandit Award is. So to start off, our founders had a vision that the brilliant work that comes out in PhDs should not just be done and dusted and kept somewhere. It deserves to be out in the open, to be in the light of day. And a nation such as ours, where infra is the foundation for catalyzing the potential, that latent potential that remains here, we have to use this, be it in collaboration with the private sector, or to encourage this and to utilize it to the maximum potential. Keeping this in mind, we started the InfraPandit Awards 2025 and we elicited responses from all over the nation, and we received quite a few responses, a lot of them from institutions of eminence such as IITs, IIMs, ISCs, etc. And amongst all of the deserving awards, the jury believed that two especially stood out. These two were Dr. Paresh and Dr. Shubham. And before I go into them, I would like to definitely mention the top 10 finalists. So here we have the top 10 were from subjects as diverse as algorithmic design of complex systems, digital image correlation based methods for fracture and fatigue analysis in building materials, building efficiency and transparency in Indian land records, sustainable green energy, real-time smart vehicular systems and connected vehicles using IoT, the Internet of Things, transportation infrastructure in the Mumbai metropolitan region, aggregate and disaggregate levels models of public transit ridership in Bengaluru. So all of this was quite a mouthful. And in all of this work, the jury believed two especially stood out because of the potential for impact, scalability, and the depth in their work. And with that, I would like to present to all of our viewers Dr. Shubham Jain, the Uttam Award winner, the first prize winner, and his work was on investigation on versatile cascade latent heat storage system for solar cooking applications. Simply put, for our viewers, it would be a solar thermal battery for multi-temperature cooking. And Dr. Paresh Jawarilal Chhajed is the Mahaan Award winner, the second prize winner. His work was on the enablers and barriers in planning non-conventional sanitation solutions in Indian small cities, the case of fecal sludge management. And I think we all know how this is a need and the necessity of the hour. So without any further ado, I would like to warmly welcome both of our guests. And Dr. Shubham, if you can please begin first, share your screen and tell us a little about the problem area, the focus that you worked on, and when was the moment when you were like, this is the question that has to be answered and the problem that has to be solved? And we would like to know from you now. Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you, Lawrence. Let me share my screen. Yeah. So first of all, I would like to thank Infravision Foundation for selecting me for this prestigious award. And I am Dr. Shubham Jain. And now I'm going to talk about my research, which I have completed during my PhD at Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi. And currently I'm working as a research associate at Ashoka Center for People-Centric Energy Transition. So this work is actually innovative thermal battery that can supply you all type of energy at different temperature. Like if you want to assist any application, you can assist with the help of the energy which is coming from this battery. So let me discuss the things. So before discussing the innovation and what are the findings from my thesis work, let me tell you what type of impact this type of work can create. So I am showing one map here. So here you can see that most of the countries in Africa and Asia does not have access to the clean cooking fuel. So if I talk about India, around 25 to 50% people does not have access to the clean cooking fuel. And if I talk about the Africa, the condition is very poor. You can see here. if someone is using some kind of a biomass or polluting fuel for the cooking, what will happen? It will create some household air pollution, and this household air pollution may cause different kind of disease. There can be the lung disease, heart disease, and a lot of problems are there. So World Health Organization did some research, and then they come up with some number, and they were mentioning that around 3.7 million annual global deaths occur due to this household pollution, and majority of them are women. So it is a very big issue, and it is not only harming the health of the human being, it is also polluting the living environment. So it is dumping a lot of CO2 into the atmosphere. To solve this problem, one option can be, we can come up with some kind of a system which can utilize some clean source of energy. Solar energy can be the option. So if you see the Sustainable Development Goals by UN also, they are also focusing in this area to provide accessibility to the people across the globe for the clean cooking fuel. So to do so, we have seen like there are some community scale solar cooking system in India that are providing the energy for many people in a day. So thousands of people are getting food by utilizing the solar energy. But after thoroughly reviewing the technologies, we have seen that those technologies are not capable enough to cook all type of the food. There are a lot of limitations. So when you see any of the community scale solar cooking system, the problem with that is they have solar collectors. They can collect the energy, but they don't have the energy storage facility. And if you see the cooking operation also, different cooking applications requires different temperature. Like if I talk about the baking, it requires the highest temperature, somewhere in the range of 200 and 220 degrees centigrade. And if I talk about the frying, so it requires around 170, 180 degrees centigrade temperature. And a low temperature application like boiling, which requires around 100, 120 degrees centigrade temperature. So is there any energy storage solution which can supply the energy, can solve this type of problem? But there is no any energy storage solution. That is the major research gap which I have seen when I was doing my secondary research in this area. Apart from that, whatever the cooking system, whether it is indoor or outdoor, they are not having any kind of a control mechanism, so that if someone wants to cook something at a high heat rate, they can't change the rate of heat transfer to the cooking to the food. So that was one of the issue which I have observed. So can we come up with some kind of a solution that can provide the flexibility to user to cook all type of the food at any time of the day, irrespective of the weather condition, without any energy constraint? That was the main challenge which I have seen during my secondary research. To overcome this challenge, we have started this research, and in this research, by utilizing the computational fluid dynamics based modeling approach, we have tested multiple design on the computer by using the high performance computing. And after doing multiple simulation, we have came up with some innovative design for the energy storage system. And this innovative energy storage system, we call it as a thermal battery, because it stores energy in the form of the heat, and it will supply the energy in the form of heat. So then we came up with some innovative indoor cooking system also, where user can cook any type of the food whenever they want. So let me give you an idea what type of system it was. So this is the energy storage system. We call it as a cascade latent heat storage, or simply you can call it as a thermal battery. So there is some kind of energy storage media which will store the energy by changing its phase from solid to liquid when we provide the heat from the solar thermal collector. This collector can be solar dish collector, because we are operating it at a high temperature. And then after storing this energy, whenever we want to utilize this energy, we can utilize for multiple temperature application. As I told you earlier also, that cooking is a multiple temperature based application. So here we have developed an indoor cooking system incorporating 3 different cooking units. One is the cooking plate, that is for the baking, and then frying pan for the frying, and then the cooking vessel, that is for the boiling. Here you can see that with the help of this thermal battery, I was able to attain a stable temperature for different cooking operations, including baking, frying, and boiling. You can see the real-time pictures of this system also. So this is the indoor cooking system. Here we have a cooking plate, a frying pan, and the cooking vessel. And then we have an outdoor energy storage facility, that is a thermal battery, the stage 1 and stage 2. And we have a control panel. So by using this system, I was able to cook all type of food, whatever you want. So that is the beauty of the system. Now, if you see the larger impact of this system, so this system is not only for the cooking application. If you want to operate it for different applications also, so there is a provision you can extend this system for different application also. And it is a very efficient and economical solution for a large scale energy storage system. At the same time, whatever the material I have used here that are eco-friendly and scalable, and it can supply the energy at different temperature. At the same time, it can be a potential solution for the long duration energy storage. And let me tell you, if I'm showing one number here, you can see that most of the energy which we are utilizing in our industries, that is in the form of the heat. So thermal energy storage or a thermal battery can be a potential solution to cater this type of heat. Like if we want to either utilize for the waste heat recovery processes, or if we want to integrate any type of solar energy or wind energy, so there also it can play a huge role, and it can be a potential option for the large scale industrial decarbonization. So before closing my discussion, let me show you the real-time glimpses of the system. Here you can see that this is baking, and this is frying, and this is the boiling. So that's all from my side. Thank you, Lawrence.
All right, sir. Thank you for that presentation. I think that was quite insightful. The first thing that came into my mind was, and this instantly popped that, and I think a lot of our viewers will also have the same question, that when it comes to the maintenance of the system, it seems a little complex. And what is the life cycle of the phase change material PCM mentioned? And like as you have shown in your presentation that you'll be doing a community deployment in Leh, what will be like the replacement of parts like the community will have to do? Can you go a little bit about that?
Because see, Lawrence, we have tested the system for the multi-temperature application, and first time we did it. And so first, the challenge was to come up with some kind of a solution that can do this. So we have, fulfilled the requirement, and now we have crossed this stage. Now for the larger scale application in Leh, our team is working, and they are planning to implement this type of a system in a larger scale application. There will be some changes in the system, but if I talk about the life cycle also, that in the literature there are some evidence that this type of system can work up to 10 to 15 years with less maintenance as compared to the electrochemical battery. And but we have not tested the system up to 10 to 15 years, because first time we are coming up with some kind of a new concept. So we have provided the proof of concept, but it will take some time to understand the life cycle behavior of this type of system.
The next thing was, you've called it a cascade system that gives multiple temperatures. And my question is, how is that different from a single material storage? If you can explain it a little bit in the layman terms for our viewers.
Yeah, so in cascade latent heat storage, we are utilizing different kind of materials, or these materials are phase change materials, so it can store energy at different temperature. But if you see the single latent heat storage, single PCM based latent heat storage technology, so there will be only one material that can store the energy at only single temperature. But we have to test it system for different applications. That's why we have utilized multiple PCM inside the battery.
Okay, so if I understood it correctly, let's say there is a flask I have, which is storing the PCM in it. And so I can collect the energy during the day, I can use it during the day and the night, and I can use it for multiple temperature option requirements. And also I can use this energy for different uses. So like, as you said, can be used to heat for heating as well. It might be gross simplification, but is that correct? Have I understood it correctly?
It is correct. Only you need to change the material. There are some options based on your requirement. You can change the material also.
Okay.
Yeah.
So going to the next one, how much space and cost does a unit need for a small community kitchen? And if you can, let's say, compare it for a month of LPG, because let's say in a community like Leh, where fuel would also be scarce, might not be there, LPG won't be there. And if you're deploying it there, if you can compare its cost with its current system, how does that fare better? Because that viewer would instantly want to know its usability.
Yeah, so instead of giving you the cost number for the mine system, let me give you a generalized number for the thermal batteries as compared to the electrochemical batteries. So typically, a thermal battery will cost you around 70 to 80 US dollar per kilowatt hour. And if you compare it with the electrochemical battery, that will go around 200 to 250 US dollar per kilowatt hour. So there is a quite difference. And if you see the current state of the research also, there are some labs in the Europe also. They are testing some low cost material, like they are also working toward come up with some kind of energy storage media which is coming from the industrial waste. So they are synthesizing those material and they are developing the thermal battery based on that. After that, this cost will reduce further. So that is the potential which this technology is having.
Fair. Okay, sir. The last question for you would be, so what would you need from the government, the NGOs or industry or any partner that you would partner up with to take this prototype and its implementation to a larger scale? So if someone watching this in any community would want to reach out to you, what can they do and how can they benefit from this system?
So the thing is, we have tested it for the cooking, and now this technology has the potential in different industrial applications. Like even if you talk about the metallurgical industries, also there the requirement of heat will be at a higher temperature like 1000 degrees centigrade and 1200 degrees centigrade also. So this technology can scale up to that level also. So if someone wants to come up with some kind of a prototype for from lower temperature application to the ultra high temperature application, so this technology have the potential. And but the only thing is, everywhere people are thinking about the electrochemical batteries, they are not thinking about the different option other than that electrochemical battery. So this thermal battery have that potential, so government need to give a lot of funding to scale up this research, and it will give benefit, because in this type of technology we will have a lesser import dependency as compared to the electrochemical batteries. If you see the electrochemical batteries like lithium ion also, so the whatever the rare earth material are involved in the manufacturing, that we are importing. But here we can develop this battery with indigenous solution. So that is the main beauty of this type of technology. So government needs to push this type of research based on my understanding.
Absolutely, sir. I think it gives me a lot of pleasure and pride as well that such a research is being done in our country. And also, recently, there is this concept of modular nuclear reactors being used in small cities. So it's very nice to see that a community-based effort is being done. But a lot of my viewers, I'm sure, would write back to us saying that we wish, and our founder also voiced his wish that we wish this could be done in a family setup as well, not just in a community setup, in a more concise setup. Is there any possibility?
It is possible. I'm telling you, either we can scale up for a larger scale application, and we can scale down also. So there is a possibility, and that is also a very good solution. In future, I will work in this direction.
Definitely, sir.
Yeah.
All right, sir. Thanks a lot, Dr. Shubham. Dr. Paresh, I would request you to please share your screen, and if you can tell us about your process, about what you worked on, and what prodded you to solve this problem.
Thank you, Lawrence, for the invitation, and thank you, Shubham, for a wonderful presentation. I think, and I couldn't agree more that there is a lot of potential that we need to explore on thermal batteries, and hopefully we will move there in the near future. Let me share my screen to share my work. Thank you, Lawrence, and thank you, the organizers of the InfraPandit Awards, for recognizing my work. I am Paresh. I worked on non-conventional sanitation solution in Indian cities, particularly small cities, and looked at a recent innovation that has come up called fecal sludge management. And first, let me quickly explain what fecal sludge management is. So typically our toilets are connected to either sewer systems, which big cities typically have, but it doesn't cater to the entire city, but part of the city, but largely that is what is available in big cities. And in smaller cities, what we would have is on-site system like a pit or a septic tank that contains the waste that we excrete, and then that needs to be emptied after a point in time, say when the on-site system is full. So we'll typically have a mechanical emptying truck come up, um, put their pipe in the tank and suck out the fecal sludge, and then take it to a treatment plant. But that is in the ideal scenario. My research, the first thing that I found as part of my research was that even though we have these desludging trucks or sometimes manual emptying is done, there is absolutely no treatment plants still about 2016. And so typically what happens is then the truck goes and disposes the fecal sludge wherever it is convenient. So it could be lakes, ponds, dry lands, farms, etc. And so what I did through my research was to try to understand what are the gap in this entire service. So as I said, the FSM is this whole service chain from user interface, that is toilet, to collection that happens on site, then emptying, treatment, and then reuse and disposal. So these are 5 components of the service chain, but they are all interconnected in a sense that if your collection is not happening well, or if your on-site system is not designed well, then the quality of fecal sludge that is collected will not be compatible with the treatment facility that you have. So all of these are very closely interconnected. So in the recent past, say in the last decade or so, we've had about 1,500 cities take up build FSTPs. So as I said, one of the first findings I had was that there was no treatment facilities. So in the last 10 years, about 1,500 cities have implemented fecal sludge treatment plants. And I wanted to understand how Government of India promoted FSM as a solution, and also understand the variation in uptake across different states. And I took a very qualitative approach to it, examined both the technical and the governance aspects of FSM services. And I used an enabling environment framework that included 8 dimensions, as we can see on the screen. Now, the key findings that I had was that, we've had about 1,500 cities, as I said, that FSTPs have been implemented, but FSM as a service has not scaled. So what has happened is that the treatment facilities have been built, but the interconnections between these components are missing. And what happens because of these missing interconnections is that the FSTPs remain dysfunctional. So say your FSTP is designed to receive 3 or 4 truckload of waste every day, and it is receiving say 1 or 2 truckloads every week or 1 or 2 every month. Then because these FSTPs rely on biological processes and the bacteria needs a constant feed, if they don't get that feed, then the FSTPs fall into disuse and eventually will not be usable. So every time you get a load, then you will have to restart, introduce a culture of bacteria or something like that. So that has not happened. Why FSTPs or why FSM has scaled across so many cities is because of multiple dimensions coming together. We began with the National Sanitation Policy, NUSP, that was adopted in 2008, which was very technology neutral. So it said that you need to provide services, whatever be the choice of technology. You choose sewer systems, you choose decentralized systems, you choose FSM. FSM was emerged as an option only after that, but you can choose whatever option you want, but ensure that the whole city is catered. So that was NUSP in 2008, and then we had the National Fecal Sludge and Septage Management Policy in 2017. So between this time, a lot of things changed. Say in 2008, when NUSP came up, we still had the Jawarilal Nehru National Urban Renewal Mission financing urban infrastructure, and it only funded sewer systems. Part of the reason is by that time FSM as a concept was yet to evolve. So sewer systems were being built through the Jain in Europe, but when Amrut was introduced in 2015, FSM has already emerged as an option, as an alternative, and therefore Amrut very specifically mentions that it is open to funding septage management or FSM, and therefore this kind of creates a fulcrum for others to take up. Monitoring systems also evolved over a period of time. From say service level benchmark that were originally initiated in 2008, they were focused on sewer systems. When they were again in 2017 as part of the NFSSM policy, they were revised, we had technology neutral indicators, and throughout this process we had series of manuals and advisories that came up from Government of India, and even capacity building efforts from Government of India that emphasized on alternative solutions. So all of this, as I mentioned earlier, I had 8 dimensions. Out of these, 4 were key, that and the interactions between them that facilitated local subnational governments to take up FSM. But what are the critical gaps? Now, as I said, some states have scaled up FSM, some have not, and therefore the key reason that it didn't scale in certain states like Kerala, for example, because there is a strong resistance to centralized facilities, and it is not only for sewage treatment, it is also for FSTPs, it is also for centralized solid waste management facilities. And where it has been implemented, it is this missing backward and forward linkages, that there is a lack of demand for emptying services. There is very weak monitoring of operations, enforcement of regulations. For example, the treatment performance of FSTPs is not regulated well, and it is across the chain. There is absence of markets for the end product. So whatever is getting treated, say the dried sludge and treated wastewater is available, if that has to be stored somewhere, or that cannot be disposed, and there is no demand for it, then obviously it is going to pile up in our storage rooms in the local governments, and therefore then there is no incentive to continue the service, in a sense, or it acts as a disincentive to keep treating fecal sludge. And there has been inadequate attention to sanitation workers, and I'm sure many of us keep reading, deaths of sanitation workers in septic tanks or sewerage lines, sewer lines, and that this whole there is a lot of debate around it, but this lack of attention to sanitation workers is also a very, very critical gap. How is my study relevant? As I said, about 1,500 cities have implemented FSTPs, and there are also more than 2,300 FSTPs in rural areas. So the lessons that we need to integrate the backward and forward linkages with the FSTP is important for all these FSTPs, and also many that will come up across Asia and Africa, where on-site systems are the predominant sanitation system. The recent Joint Monitoring Program report very clearly says that more on-site systems than sewer connections all over the world, and the percentage is much higher in the developing world, especially South Asia and Africa. It is also relevant for other sectors where alternative technologies exist, but our governance lags in acknowledging those systems, in integrating them in our governance systems. My work contributed to Kerala's state level guidelines for integrated wastewater and septage management that were drafted as part of support from a sustainable cities project from GIZ, and I have also expanded sector knowledge through publications and conference presentations. So my 2 recommendations for infrastructure or the research and practice of infrastructure is that, 1, specifically on FSM, we need to work on strengthening the backward and forward linkages of FSTPs with other components of the FSM service chain, and infrastructure related research certainly and practice certainly needs to look at both the hardware and software components of services, so that services can be sustained. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I think that was very in-depth. And what caught my attention was that even now there are deaths happening in the septic tanks, as you mentioned, and that's heartbreaking even at this time. But as you mentioned, that out of your enabling environment framework, there are 8 factors. You said there are 4 key dimensions. So the first question that I have to you is building on that. If I had to ask you to pick any 2 dimensions out of those 8, for example, policy and finance, or monitoring and socio-cultural acceptance, I would want you to give me one concrete example of what worked out right in any one dimension, and one where you noticed recurring failure or hesitation, or it's not really working out?
Yes. So the key thing that worked is, given everything was working or, developing, one of the key triggers was inclusion of FSM in the Swachh Sarvekshan. Now, gradually, so Swachh Sarvekshan is an annual exercise of ranking cities for their cleanliness. And gradually, because of sector players who were actively promoting FSM and working on the ground, FSM got integrated into the ranking mechanisms. That ensured that, it reached, so for every local government or state government, implementing FSM became a point on their agenda, on their priority, because that meant that they could probably get a recognition in the national ranking exercise. And even if they don't, typically even in the local media, Swachh Sarvekshan is very widely covered. So your city, if it was ranked, say, even 150 or 200 within the state, and then it jumps up 5 or 10 places, then obviously that gets a lot of media attention, and that kind of forced, or not forced, but kind of gave an incentive for city governments to implement FSM. The sad part of it is that part of it was on paper, but still there were some concrete steps taken that infrastructure was implemented.
All right. So
the
sorry to
backward and
interject
forward
you.
linkages are still a work in progress, as I said.
All right. Sorry to interject you. So would it be fair to say that the enabling environment dimensions at work would be, let's say, policy and monitoring, if done transparently? Is that what you would say is, the important ones?
I wouldn't say so. They are all working in. There is an interaction. So I wouldn't give one or two. So even within policy research, there is an increasing understanding that we need to look at the whole configuration of policy instruments instead of one instrument at a time. So all of them work together to give this give FSM a push. So policy, NFSSM policy coming up in 2017, finance being available through Amrut, which which kind of spurred other state government financing also. So for example, Odisha, all the Amrut cities implemented FSTPs, and then government of Odisha through its own funding implemented it in another 100 plus cities. Okay. Similarly, as I said, monitoring worked, but at the same time there was a lot of knowledge also developed across by all the sector partners. So that kind of gave an understanding that okay, this is possible. So knowledge specific sanitation capacity building platform were established at NIUA, for example, and that kind of brought in all the documentation, all the knowledge together and made it available through capacity building programs and through their modules, training modules, which enabled this scale up. So I wouldn't say that it was one instrument at a time. It was all of them working in tandem that led to the scaling.
Understood, sir. So, like a lot of policy practitioners would also say, so many of these problems are wicked problems. They all feed into each other, and that works both ways. Solutions also and problems also. That makes sense. Now I see why it's a framework that feeds into the loop. For the next question, you compare Maharashtra where the scale-up was comparatively faster, and Kerala where there was a limited uptake, we would say. Can you mention a few government actions that worked in Maharashtra, something that was like a positives there that we can then see how to scale up in other states?
So some things that worked in Maharashtra is one, they had a very strong technical partner. It was funded by the Gates Foundation, and that partner worked with them consistently from 2014 onward, even before that, but 2014 onwards, because they had a MOU to support implementation of the Swachh Bharat mission. And when Maharashtra was declared open defecation free, then the focus moved towards managing fecal waste. Till then, the focus was on building toilets, essentially. So when that transition happened, they already had a knowledge partner who was aware of ground realities, who was aware of, or they were already experimenting in a couple of cities and supporting cities implement FSM, FSTPs, and integrate the entire service chain. So they had a very strong partner. Second, so all this time there was politically this was a very tumultuous time, or there were a lot of disruptions with government switching. I mean, governments changing, but then I think because there was a bureaucratic support, Maharashtra could continue working on it. So I think, and then throughout, so there was a strong support, political and bureaucratic support, a very good technical partner, and there was a willingness to implement even at the subnational level. And that was partly spurred by the rankings in Swachh Sarvekshan.
All right, sir. Next one is a flip on this question. So you've also written about NIMBY and local politics, NIMBY being not in my backyard. So how do you design a rollout so that the local councillors don't fear electoral backlash? Do you have any views on this in Kerala perhaps, or other places where you might have noticed it?
So NIMBY, it has been encountered everywhere. It's very strong in Kerala, but it has been encountered everywhere. Even in Odisha, where FSM has been implemented, they had to overcome NIMBY in a few places. Similarly, in Maharashtra, they've planned about 300 FSTPs or 311 FSTPs, but about 225 to 30 have been implemented. Others, land is an issue, and NIMBY is part of the problem. So, but there is a significant difference in how we address NIMBY, or how we even conceptualize NIMBY. Is it very local? Is it very vested interests of the landowners where FSTPs are planned? Or is it the mistrust in the governments because of past failures? And in Kerala, that is the latter seems to be the reality. That, if you recall, or if you're aware, Kerala, all the centralized landfill sites had to be shut down around 2013 because of protests across all the cities. And the media savvy that Kerala is, this image of garbage trucks going to a landfill site accompanied by police with protesters being overpowered, that created a very lasting image, and therefore that didn't work out. So that image consists, and there has been no remedial efforts by government of Kerala or local governments in Kerala to overcome that image. Somehow, if that image could be overcome, or if there can be a way, and thankfully in recent, after my work in Kerala got over, there has been a city where FSTP has been implemented. So hopefully that if that can be treated as a model facility, it can be demonstrated as a city where things are working, where even if it is so, part of the problem is also our geographical distribution is so varied. For example, in Kerala, there is rural-urban continuum. So, in other states, you will have a city, and then you will have fields, villages, and then another city. In Kerala, the villages are, you don't know where the city ends and the village starts. Visually and in development sense. So then it is very difficult to find a land parcel that is away from human habitation, which is a necessity. So if you can demonstrate that even when a land parcel or a FSTP is implemented, or any centralized facility is implemented, even very close to a human habitation, or not very far away, say half a kilometer, 1 kilometer, it is if we can demonstrate that it will work well, it will not hamper your everyday life, it will not hamper your property values, then certainly that could be one way forward, I think, in Kerala. And
Understood,
similarly
sir.
in other states, wherever NIMBY is a strong phenomenon.
All right, sir. I cannot stress more on how important your work is, both of you. And Dr. Paresh, thank you for your presentation as well. I really hope that it gets adopted by even more states and it sees the light of day in even more local areas. With that, I'll come to my final question to both of you. Dr. Shubham, if you would like to go first, my question is there what is the final message that you would want to give policymakers, funders, partners, or even the youth when it comes to, because you are the pioneers when it comes to InfraPandit, you're the first InfraPandit. So what is the message you would like to give out?
So I must say one thing to the researchers first, that don't do research only for the publishing papers and for your degree. Do something which can help the society at a larger scale. And at the same time, I believe that our policymakers should think about the technologies which have less import dependency. At the same time, we can have some options like which are the existing technologies across the globe, but in the same time, we need to promote something indigenous also. So that is my message. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Paresh, please.
Yes, to policymakers, as important as infrastructure is, we can't emphasize enough on the governance that supports that infrastructure. I second Dr. Shubham that we as researchers we need to look at real world problems of our part of the world and other parts of global south, and we need to come up with indigenous solutions. And to the youth or researchers, I would say consistency is key. I took a very long time to finish my PhD, but I was working on it consistently. There will be times when you will not want to work, or you may even want to give up, but that consistency, that everyday small step is key, and that is true for everybody. That is not only true for research, but also if you're in practice. Expertise grows gradually. You have to work constantly. You have to give it time for and take effort every day to build your expertise and your careers. That's it. Thank you.
Very well, sir. I personally have learned from both of you, and I also would sincerely hope that your message gets resonated, and that's what we'll also be hoping for and working towards. And with that, we'll call this session to a close. But before any of you go, and our viewers as well, I would like to urge our viewers to, if you have any questions, put it in the comment section, write to us. And if you like content regarding infrastructure, public policy, and to all the infrastructure aficionados out there, public policy practitioners and enthusiasts, visit our website, visit our social handles. We have a lot for you in store, and even more coming up in the next Infravision conversation. Till then, that's all from my side. Thank you, sir.